Alright, we're live. I'll tell you something. And we're live. How's it going, guys?
Yo, yo, yo.
What's up,
What is
guys?
up? I got a bit of delay, so I can still hear the music.
You still hear the music? Yeah. Um,
Alright.
we'll just wait for some people to tune in.
Yep.
Viewers, we're getting there.
Mhm. I'll just share this. Yo, Damo, mic test. We live? We live?
We are indeed. Can you hear me
Alright.
clearly?
Yep. You're all sweet.
Perfect.
So we got some people here. So how's it going, guys? Welcome back. If you're new here, this is episode 4 of Hit It Where It Hurts. On today's episode, we've got a special guest here, Damo Lai, who is the owner of the well-known Empire Barbershop, Empire After Dark Shisha, partner at Eden Nightclub, and partner at Playground Nightclub here in Melbourne. Damo's 24. He's nearly 25. Fingers crossed, bro. I know your birthday is coming soon. So let's hope
Thank you, brother.
we're out of
Did enough
lockdown.
research.
Yeah,
Better stalking.
that's what you're gonna do it, bro. You know. But yeah, that's it. I'll hand it over to Mark now. Say something.
Long story short, man, we have a living fucking legend with us, and he does sexy fades, bro. Let's hear it from you, Damo. Tell us a bit about yourself, bro.
But about myself, well, yeah, I mean, you pretty much recapped everything. I own Empire Barbershop. Obviously, the 15th, or we're actually ranked 15th best barbershop in the whole of Melbourne. Outside of the fact that, of course, we are locked down at the moment, but you know what it is. We're all getting through it together. 24 years old, and just entrepreneur. I'm very entrepreneurial when it comes to business. I've run nightclubs in the past, such as you know, Eden Rooftop, which was in the city, Melbourne CBD, 15 floors up in the city. And yeah, Playground Fridays, which was also held at Marrakesh as well, which was also in the city.
Mhm.
And yeah, so just that's pretty much it. Everything
Awesome, bro.
the background.
Yeah, so yeah, I guess we both recapped it really well. I mean, you have done a lot, so it's kind of hard to kind of list it all. But it's good to hear everything. So basically, what the main point of putting you on today is that you've actually done what we preach about, right? Which is like patience and execution, right? Executing on what you love, executing on what you want to do, and executing on your dream. And basically, the most hardest thing, and I think we could say this as people trying to become entrepreneurs, is that the sacrifices that you have to make to achieve what you want. And that's basically where we want to go with this podcast today. And so the first question I want to ask you is, what is the biggest thing you had to sacrifice on your journey to creating Empire Barbershop and also running the clubs and all that?
Oh man, the biggest sacrifice obviously is time. I mean, that's one of the
Right.
things that I do struggle to this day is being able to manage time correctly. Time management is so important nowadays with being an entrepreneur and making sure that you're putting the right time and the right things, and also being able to sacrifice a bit of the social life. I mean, it is a bit of the grind, obviously, so it means that you do have to sacrifice a lot of times and just saying no and going out and everything like that. But hustle down for a couple of months and everything slowly comes together. So yeah, for sure, time,
Yeah,
man.
and yeah, bro, and like so many people when they think of sacrifice, they think, oh yeah, like I'll just stop playing games, right? Like, and then I'll have more time to work on business and stuff. But like, it's so much more. Like, time is so much valuable because time is literally the foundation of everything you're gonna do, right? Like, depending on the business you're gonna run, the main thing that you need to invest before you even invest money into it is your time, right? Because you need the idea and all that. And like, bro, like keeping up social relationships that like are one-sided or too like mostly towards like a needy section or whatever, like it becomes hard, bro, because like for me right now, like we're running Zorus Media, we're running some little
Hmm.
prank channel as well, and I'm studying uni at one time. I was speaking for Mark
Absolutely.
as well, bro. He ran 3 jobs while we were doing shisha at your door at one stage. So
Hmm.
bro, it's this entrepreneur grind that like you can't understand unless you're in it, you know what I mean?
Of
And
course.
Yeah.
so, Mark,
For me,
how?
it's like if you've got if you've got discipline set, then you can dedicate all your time towards what you're doing, and
That's
Hmm.
right.
that's how I like go through it.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
I want to ask this question to like all of us could answer. But what does sacrifice mean to you, and like how important do you think it is for someone coming up?
I mean, look, there are some things I think we all live in a fear of FOMO, right? At the end of the day, so I think
100%.
I think the biggest thing is being able to learn, self control. I think that's the biggest thing with sacrifice is learning the right amount of balance because you can still go out, you can still do things at the end of the day, but it's being able to find the balance and making sure that you're not going out too many times. That you know you you're balancing all of that all together in one. You know what I mean? And that's the hardest thing is that balance. So. Um, but I mean, when you think about long-term goals, you think about the bigger picture. You think about what you can achieve and doing it in a period of time, which when you're young, you have the most amount of time, and it just comes down to trial and error because people are so afraid nowadays into jumping into something right at the end of the day, and because they're so caught up in risk and fear, they never end up doing it and they always regret it. But being that younger audience now, the best time is to trial and error. Whether you do fail, it's a step forward because you're still learning from your mistakes. So there's a lot to it. There's definitely a lot to it. But I mean, sacrifice is something that it comes down to self control. If you know what's right and what's wrong and when to do it, and yeah, it's a balance for sure.
Yeah, and I think like the craziest thing you said is that like, bro, most people and like their parents, they teach them, like when you're at 20, this is the most important years of your life. Like you got to complete uni, you got to do this, that. But it's not true, bro. When you're 20, that's when you're meant to make the most sacrifices. You know what I mean? Because that's when you're meant to make the most risk because you have so many years to recover, right, from the risks you're gonna take. So like, I love that you said that because not only do you say it, but you're living it right now. You know what I mean?
Of course, and absolutely. And at the end of the day, regardless of your age, regardless of anything, you can still do it, but you've still got to learn that balance at the end of the day. Like I know 30-year-olds that are starting, to get the grasp of opening businesses and everything like that as well. Like age is never
Yeah.
really a massive thing. It just comes down to whether it's the right time for you to do it. And yes, when it comes down to being brought up in an environment or a traditional, like a lot of parents and a lot of ethnic parents nowadays, it's all a traditional mindset. Finish uni, get a good
Mhm.
job, make your way up in the hierarchy in the company, and then eventually you'll be something. Maybe potentially a CEO of the company, but and get a good
Right.
pay and have a stable lifestyle. But to a lot, it's not just about being. Some people fear that stability of just working 9 to 5, then you know going home, sleeping, waking up 9 to 5, and it's just a repeat. And a lot of people like myself, I fear that. You know what I mean? I fear
Yeah,
not
100%.
succeeding. So
Yeah, because people use fear as an excuse, right? Like, especially with the lockdown and stuff. But they don't know that I think every excuse can be a sacrifice and turns into a motivator at the same time. You know what I mean? So I think the way it's all about perspective. I think life is about perspective. So when we say sacrifice, we mean giving up, but it's not giving up as in like you're losing or you're missing out on something or FOMO. It's more like you're seeing the bigger picture. You know what I mean?
yeah, and a lot of people nowadays, I mean, it comes down to a lot of people have a lot of excuses nowadays in terms of why they can't do it. It's being able to step outside that box that we're so
Right.
comfortable in. Comfortability is probably, it's not a bad thing to be comfortable at the end of the day, but comfortability sort of refrains people from doing what they want and what they dream about, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And the biggest saying that I've heard before is, when you're comfortable, that's the best time to jump into something with fear,
100%. Yeah, yeah.
for sure.
Like there are people who are jumping into businesses with nothing to their name, right? Like if you look at all the million-dollar entrepreneurs, they didn't have that luxury of having a 9 to 5 to fall back on if something didn't work, right? Like they didn't have that. But for us, like, and like we're not gonna say we're wealthy, but obviously we're comfortable. We have a house, we're living, we have a bed. You know what I mean? Other people don't have that luxury. Like what do you reckon, Mark?
Honestly, it's true. Like, there's a lot of people that have given up everything to go follow that one thing that they're
Yeah,
Mm.
that's right.
destined to like make it in. And like I've seen it through a lot of like YouTubers. We'll use YouTubers for example. A lot of
Right.
YouTubers like they move to LA and to pursue
Mm.
to become a YouTuber. And I've seen like a lot of them that put in the work, they end up making it. And
Mm.
it like literally like within a year, they've got like 1 million subs and stuff like that. And
Yeah,
it's like them putting in their mind that that's what they want to achieve, that they're gonna give their whole energy to that particular thing, and they're gonna make it, and they end up making it. And that's
mhm,
why
Yeah.
a lot of people like think they can't do it because they look at the people on top, and they think,
Yeah.
oh, they got lucky, but it's not
mhm.
that.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
Oh,
exact.
they comment on their photos. Must be nice. Must be nice.
Yeah, no,
But
it's
I, I
yeah.
think society now, I think us in society nowadays lives, and a lot of us nowadays, not us specifically, but a lot of people live in jealousy nowadays, right?
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
with a lot of jealousy, they'll then talk about oh, it'd be nice to do this, it'd be nice to do that, but they're not willing to put the effort in at the end of the day, and that's the biggest thing that I tell people is there's not enough effort being put in, um, and they regret it down the end because they were living comfortably.
And like just to touch on that point, bro, there's not enough effort for the goals you want, bro. Like you're saying, like even people in uni, it doesn't even have to apply to business. They're saying they want a HD, and they're clubbing every single fucking night, not studying at all, right? Like the goal, the size of your goal has to amount to the work that you put in and the sacrifices you give. You know what I mean? So, like we spoke it a lot in theory, right? But in practice, let's talk real shit here. An
Hmm.
18-year-old wants to start a business, right? And bro, this guy has lived his whole life doing nothing except partying, spending all of his money. Like he's not broke, but he's on his way out, right? Like he's on his way to ending up on the street, right? What sacrifices do you have to make at that time, and how do you determine what sacrifices you should make in that
I
scenario?
think I think the biggest thing is being able to sort of find and understand your true self. I mean, the biggest thing, firstly, is being able to, as an individual, say enough is enough, because
Right.
you can't do something at the end of the day, like start a business or anything like that, but still have the
Yeah.
same mentality that you had in the past that brought you to a bad spot. So
Right.
it comes down to, as we discussed, sacrifice. You have to sacrifice your partying. You have to, not get caught with that FOMO of not going out. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it does, at the end of the day, come down to just knuckling down, and it's just personal development. That's what it comes down to at the end of the day. And then once you do
100%.
find your true
100%.
self, then focus on your passions, right? People open too many businesses focused about money, money this, money that. And money,
100%.
yes, it drives people, but if there's no passion in it and all they're focused about in money, you lose the true concept of, you know, not, you lose the concept of happiness, you know what I mean? The biggest
Right.
thing with business when you start is, yes, you'll always think about the end goal, driving a Lamborghini, having a massive mansion. But at the end of the day, the biggest thing is actually knowing and understanding the process of how to get there, the milestones, the goals, every step of the way you have to learn, right? And you just have to chuck yourself in the deep end. Not enough people throw themselves in the deep end and just go, you know what, fuck it, I'm going to do it. You know what I mean? Even if I don't know anything about it, just throw yourself in the deep end, because that's when you learn the quickest. That's when your brain will pick things up the quickest.
And I think, like, going off that point, pushing for money all the time in all your businesses shows that you're too scared to sacrifice, right? You don't want to live humble to achieve what you want, right? Like, bro, almost every entrepreneur went off, right? Because the comments were all like, must be nice, right? And then they go look at that person's profile and they've gone to Coachella or some shit like that, right? Like, they've spent all their fucking money and they don't want to spend on businesses, right? And bro, trust me, I'm speaking from a hypocritical perspective, because I was in that position where, like, bro, I was walking around with designer saying I was too scared to spend $1,000 on starting my shisha business, right? Like, it's so ingrained into your mind, this idea of money, that people are so scared to lose it because they feel like they lose value within themselves when they lose money. What do you reckon, Mark?
Honestly, it's true because you know me. I'm always shopping around. I'm always buying new shit, and it
Yeah,
came to a point when I was like, the money I'm making now is to reinvest it. I want my money to start working for me. I don't want to start wasting it just to please other people so they can see me and be like, oh, look, he's wearing that. He looks good. This that.
100%.
I
Yeah,
I had to, like it took time for me to train my mind to say, look, this is not it. You got bigger
100%.
things, bigger dreams. You gotta follow that. And so I had to go with that.
Mm-hmm.
And just I want to get back to what you were talking about before about the process. And
Right.
I'm not sure if you know Gary Vee, Damon. You know Gary
Yes,
Vee? Yeah.
absolutely.
Our
If any
inspiration, bro.
entrepreneur doesn't know Gary Vee, then there's a real problem.
My
He,
spirit.
yeah, Mark here loves him. That guy talks about process and like he says, if you gotta love the process to get to where you want, and it's like really true with that. Like I've started a lot of side hustles, a lot of things. Mark knows this, and
Yeah.
I've ended up making a lot of money out of it. But at the same time, I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't enjoying the process, so I had to stop it and do something else. So
Mm-hmm.
like when you're starting something, you gotta not think about the money. You gotta think about the
Yeah.
passion and whether you enjoy it or not. And what you
And I
said,
think,
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I think the biggest problem nowadays as well with a lot of people is, we go to school and we learn all the maths, the English, the subjects, but school doesn't really teach you about money management. That's something that you learn over time is being able to manage your money. Like I used to be the exact same thing, right? I used to be very materialistic back in the
Yeah,
day.
me too, bro.
So
Yeah.
rock designer used to spend $2,000 a week on booths. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, and at the end of the day, like there's no regret at the end of the day, right? It's a point in your life where you have to experience. You don't have to experience it, but I've experienced it enough to the point where I go, okay, I've experienced it. I no longer need the designer stuff. That money is better elsewhere, and it's money management that's important as an entrepreneur, but not just as an entrepreneur, but just in general in life. Learning how
Right.
to invest, how to put money in the right places, whether it's a business, a house, you know, anything, right? Crypto, could be anything.
100%. And like, bro, like, what would you? Because like, the reason we make this podcast and the reason we brought you on is because we want to help as many people in that same position, right? Because I don't know if you were like this. I could speak on behalf of myself and Mark. We're at that position where we're looking at things around us, wanting to execute, but we're so scared, bro. Like, do we want to sacrifice the time? Like right now, I'm doing uni, right? So like, thinking about the time that I want to spend on my business versus uni, like all these things, right? Like the main purpose of the podcast is to help people in that spot in their life where they're ready
Mhm.
to execute, but they don't know where to be, right? So like, what's the best advice you can give to someone who's afraid to sacrifice, right? Not like, just, do the sacrifice, but like someone that literally has a fear of living in a certain way because of their sacrifices.
I mean, look, at the end of the day, it comes down to this. Like, you, your idea in your head could make you hundreds of thousands of dollars. It could make you
Yeah.
millions of dollars. It could fail, right? But are you really wanting to live a life of regret, not knowing where that road could take you.
100%. Yeah.
Right. So it definitely comes down to, being able to go, you know what? I am going to sacrifice my time and everything like that, and I'm going to learn how to do it. Like if one business fails, you've got many other ideas down the road that you're gonna open up that could be potential, multi-million-dollar businesses. But
Right.
you have to throw yourself in the deep and go, you know what? I've got to do it. Otherwise, I'm going to live my life not knowing where this could go.
Right.
100%.
And do you think like you could sacrifice too much? Like, do you think because right now, right, like you're at a position, and I could say where like you're comfortable, right? Like, you
Mm-hmm.
know, so you haven't completely achieved your goals, because I know like you're one of the highest achievers I know, right? Like you've got really
Mm-hmm.
big goals, but you're not there yet, but you're on your way. Had that have not been the case, and you've sacrificed all you did, the clubbing, the girls, the mates, everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
Would you have still been satisfied with your sacrifices, or would you have given up?
I mean, at the end of the day, giving up for me isn't an option, right? That's
100%.
that's the
Yeah.
biggest thing that I tell people is giving up isn't an option.
Mm,
Um, it also comes down to balance, right? You can still, as I said, you can still do what you need to do and enjoy yourself, but you need to limit yourself on the amounts that you do. Go out or spend time with mates or stuff like
mm,
that. So, um, if for me, it's I'm working ridiculous hours at this point of time, like
yeah,
unbelievable
for sure.
hours. Like I will stay till dawn. I'll get minimal sleep, but I won't ever give up. And the biggest and another quote that I'll bring up is that I'm proud, but I'm
Yeah.
never satisfied.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
like disregard whether I'll be at a stage where I'm the most comfortable that anyone could be. I don't have to worry about any bills. To me, I would never put myself in that comfortability spot, because at the end of the day, I'll continue to push and I'll continue to push and I'll continue to push until my dying breath. Okay.
100%, bro. 100%.
And I'd like to touch on
So,
that. Sorry, man, to cut you off. Um,
mm,
a lot of people like you said, you keep going and you keep pushing, right? And as you can see, like a lot of people that have made it really like at the top, like Elon Musk, Bill Gates, and all those people, yeah, they keep continuing to work and push through. And a lot of people tend to call that greed, but to me, like that's passion. That's literally passion. That's not greed. Like they're doing this because they love the process and they're enjoying it.
100%. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's why I wanted to cut you just to say that.
Yeah. 100%. And
Mm,
like, bro, just like sacrifice as a whole,
mm,
like it's ingrained into your mind to see the bigger picture, like I said before. So short term, you go through the struggles, right? Like you go through the pain of what you sacrifice. You go through maybe FOMO, regret, right? Like, imposter syndrome, all those types of things, right? Which is all common for everyone. Everyone that starts a business gets the same thing, right? Like, bro, when I was working at Shisha Your Door, bro, and we were doing like full nights, right? Like with no sleep, literally maybe 2 hours sleep in the car on the way or some shit. Like, bro, I'm looking at my Snapchat, my Instagram story, and there's people with boosts, there's people enjoying their life, bro. And I'm sitting here like, bro, is this really worth it? You know what I mean? But
mhm,
that's the thing. Like, it all comes down to perspective. Like, yeah, bro, they're living good in that moment, but are they chasing their dream, or are they running away from it with what they're doing, right? Like, and no shame to anyone who goes out and parties every day, because you have to keep doing shit until you learn from it, right? Like, I believe just like you, I regret nothing in my past, nothing at all. And
mhm,
I think it got me to that point where I am now. So for people to be able to understand that level of sacrifice, I think that's what's limiting them from being where they want to be, right?
mhm,
That fear, and like I love the way you put it, where you spoke about like comfortability and satisfaction, bro. That's the real fucking fear for me,
mhm,
and for you it seems that you don't want to be to that point where you're like, you know what, bro, like you look pretty comfortable, bro, sitting in your own barbershop, nice couch with a
mhm,
shisha, but you're not comfortable, you know what I mean? Like you still have that drive in you, and
mhm.
I think people don't have that. So in your advice, how did you build that, and how would you recommend other people to build that drive in them to be able to not like to look at the bigger picture?
Yeah, I mean, look, as I said, and just going back to what we were talking about prior, You know, they continue to drive and they're passionate about it but that's due to the reason that they, you know, they did something that they wanted to do, right? That their passion in opening a business that they felt was them, right? You don't want to open a business based about money. Touching on the basis of drive, look, at the end of the day, what drives me is, as I said, I mean, it's not to live a comfortable lifestyle. So at the end of the day, yes, you know, we all manifest, right? We manifest nice things at the end of the day. And people will always manifest nice things, you know what I mean? Oh, I want to be like this, I want to have this, I want to have that. But people don't want to sort of put the effort in to go and do it, right? Once you start something and you really, really enjoy it, your drive will come naturally, right? If you do something that you love.
Yeah.
So you won't have, that drive will come naturally when you start doing something that you like, okay, and that you're passionate about.
Bro, and I'm just, yeah. Like, I was just thinking, bro, like, when you say something you love, it's like, bro, I love clubbing, so I get that drive when I club, but, like, I know what you mean, right? But other people might take that, like, oh, bro, but I love going out, I love spending money, I love doing that, but that's, like, a different type of passion, right? Like, that's, like, that's like a short-term escape. The passion we're talking about, the love we're talking about, is something that keeps you up at night, right? Like, bro, the same way you think of your missus before you go to sleep, bro, it's like you're thinking about your dream. You're like, fuck, bro, like, I could have done this today, or I could have done this tomorrow, and what am I going to do tomorrow, right? Like, that passion and that drive, it doesn't come easy. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. I mean, at the end of the day, it also comes down to, you know, what you love the most. Like, you can go and you can club and you can enjoy clubbing. I mean, but you got to know that your passion, you know, is there an expiry on, like an expiry date for what you love? Like clubbing, there's an expiry for clubbing. There's an expiry for, you know, drinking to a certain age where you just, you know, don't enjoy it anymore, or, you know, whatever it may be. You got to look at the you know, expiration, like when will this stop and what am I going to do after? You know what I mean? So you really got to plan for the future at the end of the day as well.
No,
Yeah, bro, and go for it.
yeah, I had a good question for you. What flavor are you smoking, bro?
Yeah,
Is
straight
it-
out.
The Love 66. So I'll show
goes
you what
hard.
I have. The Love 66 is mad, but I've got a specific shisha now that I use, specifically made from Germany. It's called a Viro shisha, and I picked it up from one of the boys, and literally that is as small as it is. It's right, and it smokes better than all the other shishas. So this thing creates much more smoke than any other shisha that I've had, and I use it and I can take it anywhere. So it's portable for me. I love it.
Bro, that's sick. You gotta send me a link. I need to get one.
Straight up, bro. Hey, we're advertising the shisha business, bro.
Bring it back to business.
I'm loving it. Loving it.
No, I wanted to get into a more heated topic, and I know you're gonna love this. With all these lockdowns happening, and then Andrew's calling out lockdown after lockdown, how do you think it makes like those young teenagers that are like that have started a business, a brick and mortar business, and now they had to close it? Like, do you think that just will change their whole perspective on entrepreneurship and make them not want to go into that direction anymore?
I mean, at the end of the day, yes, it hits home, right? It hits home for a lot of people where you can't do a lot of stuff because you need things to be open. But the way in which you've got to see it is, okay, we're stuck in this position. But you don't take it as okay, I'm going to give up, that's it. You take it as an obstacle to go, okay, lockdown's hit, we're in COVID. How can we COVID-proof this side of the business, right? If you're delivering or you're trying to sell something in through a physical store, how do we hit online? How do we grow our online presence? Or, you know, a barbershop being shut down, right? When we come out of lockdown, what do we do in the meantime to market to the point where, you know, when we come out of lockdown, we perform better than we did, you know, prior to going into lockdown? It's always about improving and being able to find a way to COVID-proof that business. And yeah, take it as an obstacle rather than something that just goes, you know what, it's, you know, let's call it, let's fold our hand and that's it. Like, don't give up. There are many ways around COVID-proofing your business. But as I said, it really comes down to how do you target that obstacle, and how do you, how do you perceive it? How do you take actions to move forward with the business and not give up?
Yeah, and like, bro, like, don't you feel like right now, like, bro, now's the time when people are making the most excuses because these people have been given their, like, and no offense to any businesses, but like, those businesses in shopping centers that get forced people to get there, right? Because they're gonna be walking through the store. You know what I mean? Like, that's what they're paying their rent for, right? Like, customers to come in. And then now that they've lost that, they're using it as an excuse as to why they're not succeeding, right? But bro, when you
Mm-hmm.
have your fucking passion and your drive, bro, one bump in the road shouldn't stop you the whole way. And like, don't get me wrong, like I completely understand, bro, the protests, small business owners, and people putting their life on the line to achieve success. But at the end of the day, bro, you're given that opportunity to be in that shopping center. You're given that opportunity to chase your dream. Other people aren't, either mentally, financially, physically, whatever it is, and they're using like that kind of excuse of a lockdown, but you know there's heaps of things change. The market changes. Take lockdown aside, take the health aside, take deaths aside, take people's freedom being taken aside, right? That's a change in market, right? At the end of the day, that's all it is. It's a
I,
change in demographic and a change in market.
I mean, the biggest thing at this point in time is people don't understand the online presence, the e-commerce business, the online store business, right? It's growing more than ever. People need to understand that there's opportunities out there and that the opportunities are not thin whatsoever. You've just got to open your mind and really, really think. Like me and my mate, we were sitting down yesterday night. We were having a shisha and we were just having a chat. And we were like, okay, obviously everything's closed. What do we do? And one of the biggest things, I'm not sure, I don't care if anyone takes this idea, but think about the point where you can open something small like a chicken nugget plush pillow, business where they sell plush pillows for chicken nuggets. It'll pop off, right?
That'll literally
There,
pop up. Yeah.
yeah, like there's things out there that people really need to think about and really dive deep into, but people get too lazy. People get too caught up in negativity, and they get too caught up in the lockdown. They get too caught up in the protests. They get too caught up in what other people are doing rather than themselves doing something good.
100%. And I just want to turn to the chat now because I want to recognize all the lovely people who have come and watched. If you don't know who Damo is, we gave an introduction at the start of the video if you want to go back. But he's a sexy cunt who does amazing haircuts and he's a serial entrepreneur. And I just want to give a big shout out to Javen, your mate, because he asked you to shout him out, but you ignored him. So we'll give you autographs after. And to a question from Rudy, he says, if you run a chauffeur business, how can you run it online? That's a good question.
Look, chauffeur business, yeah, it's stopped. It's like my barbershop, right? It's completely
Yeah.
stopped. You can't really chauffeur people around, right? At the end of the day, why don't we look at, what's expanding right now? There's Uber delivery companies. There's, all different types of market. There's ways in which you can do it. I mean, at the same time as well, how do you market your chauffeur business? Come up with a marketing plan. So when you do come out of lockdown, you've got everything there ready to go and perform better than you did even before you hit lockdown at the same time. Like, how do you market it? If you can't find people, how do you source contracts, right? How do you get contracts with companies like touring agencies or things like that, like high-end businesses that, taxi services, whatever it is. Go out there, email as much people as possible, 500 people, and 2 or 3 might reply, and you might end up having 2 or 3 contracts, like really good contracts to chauffeur people. So yes, it's stopped at this point in time, but how do you come out of lockdown with that business even better than when you were running it previously? That's what it comes down to.
100%. And just to add to that point, bro, like going back to sacrifice, I would at that point, like what I'd do in that situation is that I'd sacrifice that physical presence you had with your customers because obviously they're not going to come because you'd imagine a chauffeur business would be for like high-end people who would be coming from overseas or like people chucking parties for clubs and shit like that. That's not going to be on anymore. But you know what I'd do? Like I'd grow my digital presence. I'd clout the fuck out of the limo, right? And then
Oh
I'd
yeah.
sell the idea of the limo to like music videos and producers and like that type of thing. Because,
Yes.
bro, people are going to see like a music video, and they're going to see all these sexy cars, right? They'll be like, where'd you get those cars from? And your link is going to be in the bottom, and bang, you got customers. And like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, bro, even like the digital media perspective of everything, and why we started the media agency, because like you said, bro, like when you come up with business ideas, bro, there's a million that go through your head before you go through the one that you want to go through. So for us, we chose media because it expands in so many different avenues, right? But when you're running like a brick and mortar business, like a chauffeur business or a barber shop, it gets hard to that point unless you grow your digital presence, which I think you've done really well, Damo. And
Yeah.
also like Mark, like I remember
Yeah.
you touched on this last time, like coaching services and like online books, things like that. Like what else, Mark? What else would you suggest?
Well, like for the chauffeur or for
Yeah, like
help.
if you're running a chauffeur business, yeah.
Oh, bro, you touched on everything, honestly. Like,
Yeah.
or you can, like, you can just start. Like TikTok is blowing up. Go on
Right.
TikTok, start teaching people about the
Mm-hmm.
chauffeur business, limo services, and all that shit. Like, there's probably a lot of people that want to get into it, but they don't know maybe how to finance a car, for example, to get into that business. Or
That's right.
you know what I mean?
And at the end of the day, I mean, I think Rudy just mentioned I can't do Uber Eats. There's a million different things. Like I'm thinking of a million to the top of my head. Like I remember, year 11, year 12 formals. We used to be able to take a limo, for example, to our formal just to show off. Like go
Yeah.
and get contracts. Go and talk to schools and go, hey, if I promo, my chauffeur business at your school or at a wide range of different schools. Even if it's a couple of people here and there. I mean, look, at the end of the day, you can get those contracts out there, and so that when it does come time where it opens up, you've got that money sitting there ready to go because people are ready to book it. So it's not about what you can do about lockdown. It's about how do you market it post lockdown when you come out. Okay, what do we do from this point onwards? You can grow your clientele, database 200%. Like let's say, for example, you're delivering, I don't know, this is just for example, right? Let's say you're chauffeuring 10, 20 people a week during, outside of lockdown. How do you make it when you come out of lockdown? How do you do 30, 40, 50 clients a week? You know what I mean? It's being able to learn how to market and learn how to get contracts and everything like that. It's all about planning for when you do come out of lockdown. It's not at a halt. You can't give up and go, that's it, right? You've got to find out strategies in which when we come out of lockdown, how do I run this stuff more efficiently? Um, essentially
Yeah.
add more business.
You gotta
And it's all
be
about
ready for it.
Yeah, and it's all about perspective, right? Because like the way I think of it, like yeah, chauffeur business and all these brick and mortar businesses are copying it. But there was a time when you had customers. There are businesses starting who never had customers from the start, right? And like they'll be better than you because they hit roadblocks without achieving, right? Because once you achieve and you hit a roadblock, it seems less likely that you're going to try something different because you've already achieved through that way. And that's why it comes back down to sacrifice, right? Because you got to sacrifice your money. Because, bro, let's think of it. A chauffeur business will be making thousands of high-end customers. To lose that is a big fucking sacrifice. Don't get me wrong, right? But at the end of the day, what's it called? At the end of the day, like you have to make those sacrifices where you have to focus on a different demographic for a little bit and kind of trust in your idea and kind of just go 100 in it. You know what I mean? Um, so yeah, so that's what I would do from a brick and mortar perspective, and it really just comes down to how wide can you stretch the value you're providing to your customers, right? Like that's really what it comes down to for me. When I look at a business, and I've never been an angel investor, but I did a lot of research into angel investing. Angel investing is when you give a lot of money to a startup business to get a profit out of it when it starts to succeed. Like the way I analyze businesses in that way is I always look at the people that are running it and the value they're providing. And if the value they're providing is secluded in one area, and once that area shuts off, they have nothing left, then I wouldn't look into investing in it, right? So it all comes down to the person driving the horse and the horse itself, and how many hurdles can the horse go through? How many different racetracks can it get to, right? Um, and so yeah, so just going off Rudy's question, he said, I run a successful business. When it opens up, my interstate contracts get active. I won't have enough time to take on new clients. But you can't take that risk, right? You can't take that risk that your business will still be successful after lockdown, right? Because
And
that's assuming.
And at the same time, yes, it's amazing. I congratulate you for owning a successful business.
So,
Now you've got to think of it from a perspective where, okay, I run one, but we're maxed out. So how do we expand to get more clients?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I've got to hire someone, pre-plan hiring someone, pre-plan getting, another car. Now, it doesn't have to be as expensive. You can sort of have packages for people where you've got the lower end car, right? And then you
right.
can get someone on board to start running money for you and start driving for you and paying them. So it's being able to essentially grow and expand, not yourself as a sole business, but as a bigger picture. How do I eventually have 10 cars running? How do I have 9 people working for me? You know what I mean? So things like that at the end of the day to expand your business. You've got to open your mind into expansion.
That's all right. And like, man, like shout out because the guy asking questions is my dad, and he runs a limo business called Valet Limos, and obviously
Mm-hmm.
he's doing it tough now because of the lockdown, right? Like any
Yeah.
other brick and mortar businesses. So like even like when like, I remember one entrepreneur, I can't remember who said it, but they said McDonald's is the business and Macca's is the brand, right? Because Macca's is in our mouth all the fucking time, right? When you want to
Mm-hmm.
go for a coffee, chicken nuggets, whatever it is, right? So in that way, that's why I think Valet Limos as a whole, like, what if VL becomes the personal branding, right? Like, oh yeah, let's go see what VL's up to or whatever, right? Like, kind of
Mm-hmm.
taking a look and seeing how you can expand your personal branding, because personal branding expands a lot more than the physical monetary value you have. It expands to the intellectual property and the
Mm-hmm.
value you're providing as a whole, not just physically, right? And I think that's where brick and mortar businesses have to shift from relying
Yeah.
on real life customers and going into a different demographic.
And I think the biggest thing here, and one thing that I'm not sure whether people know about in Macca's is Macca's, yes, is a fast food chain, but that's not where their money is.
Yeah,
Macca's is actually a real estate company that builds on real estate. So they buy prime real estate and their assets go up because of that prime real estate. So bring that back into the chauffeur business, right? Grow
yeah,
your company by, how do we hire more people? How do we get more cars? Those cars will eventually down the road, they'll become assets to you. So down the
that's right.
road, think about an expansion, right? Think about Macca's buying, 100,000 Maccas in the whole world, right? That's 100,000 pieces of real estate. So think about it from a limo perspective. Yes, you've got one car, but how do you grow and add 2, 3, 4, 5 cars into your fleet? And now you've got 5 cars and 5 assets at the
Yeah,
end of the day.
that's all right. And just on that point, like where he mentions affiliate marketing, and like that's so good, right? Because like imagine affiliating a brand with a limo, right? Like me, all of us right now are just picturing of some like luxury brand being worn in a limo or being advertised in a limo. Like that would be really good marketing, right? Like not only are you affiliating yourself with whatever you're promoting, but you're affiliating your branding with the marketing, right? So it's making all those connections. So yeah, 100%, I'd recommend affiliate marketing. And just on that point, like anyone else who wants to ask questions specifically to their business, like go ahead in the comments, right? Like that's what we're here for. We want to provide as much value as we can. But just on the point of what my dad and what you're doing, Damo, is that you're actually looking for those answers. You're not just sitting down with your fucking pile of clothes and saying, you know what, bro, I was good before, but now I'm not, so I just give up, right? Like that's the
Mm-hmm.
step you have to take, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
like join other people who have like-minded ideas and kind of
Mm-hmm.
ask for advice and see where it takes you. You know what I mean? So like
Mm-hmm.
big
Mm-hmm.
big ups to my dad for like coming out and asking questions.
100%. And it's not just affiliate marketing, right? You've
Right.
got a million different marketing strategies, SEO marketing. How do you rank, your limo business website on the top of Google? So when someone searches, limo hire, that your URL or your website is the first one to pop off.
Yeah.
And that's the first one they click, and that's the first one they call. You've got SEO marketing, you've got all different types of marketing. It's being able to browse your options and trial and error. Don't be afraid to fail on a type of marketing strategy, because you've got a million that you can choose from, and eventually one will work. It's just finding the right ones for you.
Yeah.
100%.
And man, like the value you're providing in this fucking episode has been crazy. So I just want to thank you for that, Demo. Like,
Anytime,
I'm,
anytime.
I'm a little bit less hype in this episode because I've been moving today, so I'm a bit fucking tired. But the value right now that's coming out of your mouth, man, like I'm just picturing all the clips I'm about to take and clout farm off them. So That's what I'm thinking about. But yeah, nah. But like, man, you just hit it on the dot, right? Like that whole marketing strand of things. It's not just to brands, right? It could be to celebrities, could be to people, could be to restaurants, could be to
Didn't
everything, right?
didn't your dad one time pick up the weekend? Like this is like 2016 or something.
Yeah, yeah. He
Yeah.
picked up the weekend. He picked up Guy Sebastian's manager. He picked up a few of them. So that's like pretty cool. And you know, you could probably make links there. It's probably hard.
use
Market,
use
yeah,
use your past to your advantage. I mean, if you have mentioned that to people, right, that are interested, like you, what's called lead generation is you get leads and prospects, right, and you've got, let's say, a database of 100 people that are interested in hiring a limo, and it now comes down to how do you close those deals? Well, how you close those deals is by bringing up the past. Oh, you know, we're exceptional service. We're exceptional service to the point where this is a work we've done, and you want to be one of those people. You know what I mean? That sat in the same limo that took with the weekend, that took Guy Sebastian. You want to use those to your advantage.
100%. And like, I think there is like you know, rules of privacy and stuff, but you might have to like kind of make amendments to like contracts and stuff to kind of get that through, because the personal branding and the clout you'd get off that versus the secrecy and the confidentiality with the person, it'll be valued a lot more. So you can't have it up. And so like, like anyone listening, right, like who's in a similar position to like where, you know, chauffeur business or a barbershop would be, like these are the type of conversations you need to be having, not only with other people but with yourself. Like, where is your passion? Where can you provide that value to your customers, right?
Yeah.
And you know, and never tie it back to money, but tie it back to the longevity of your business, right? Tie it back to the overall, like, man, whenever I feel lost, like in content or what I'm about to post or where we're supposed to take a route, I always think back to like, what, bro, why start what I started? Why did this have so much value to me that I was able to make that many sacrifices to achieve what I wanted to achieve, right? And
Mhm.
so I think tying it back to that is gonna help a lot of people, and like I feel like a lot of people need to hear that.
Absolutely, and your dad mentioned as well the recommendation of franchising, but obviously not wanting the headache of looking after other drivers. Now you've
Right.
got a different way in seeing franchising, right? Franchising to the point where you don't actually in franchising you don't technically need, right, in franchising to do any work other than check up on the manager once a week. That's all it takes. Because what
Right.
happens is if you franchise, right, what happens is you only need to check in because they're the ones that make the money. You're not the one buying the car. They're the ones buying the car. They just want to use your brand at the end of the day. So when it comes to franchising, all you
Right.
need to do is sit down in an hour meeting, have a conversation with them. How's your week going? Okay, this is a way that you improve your business, right? And this is a way that I did to be successful. I'm now teaching you the ways to be successful through the franchising business. And it doesn't take much effort at all. It's only an hour a day checking up on people. Like I, for example, like I own a barbershop. If I decided to, I can franchise, let's say, 10 barbershops out there. Now, for me, right, they use my brand, but they pay me a fee. And for the fee that they pay, I give them the brand, and I give them an hour a week to teach them about it, and that's it. That's all the time that I need.
Yeah.
It doesn't really
And
take much time.
It's like
and
with,
so,
oh,
yeah.
it's like when someone goes and buys a petrol station, right? You're buying it, but you're buying the name. That's what you're paying for. And I know with
Right. Right.
Caltex, because I have someone that bought a Caltex, they have to pay like 50 grand a year just to have the name. And so I think with
Right.
franchising, that's how it have to be, right? Yeah.
Absolutely. Like BP, the BP are not managing the workers inside the BP. They're managing the head of BP Australia. They're managing, and the BP of Head Australia, right? They're managing the manager of that store, and that's it, right? You talk to that manager once a week, making sure there's money. All you need to look at is numbers. That's all you have to look at.
Yeah, and I think like also like with selection of franchising, and I think this comes down to something really important: selection of your team that wants to drive your passion, because the driver is just as important as the car, right? Like that's how I see it. I think you have to find people who are like-minded like you, who would see the longevity, who understand the passion. Like I feel like the hiring process and like the selection of franchises. like in modern day society is not really understood, right? Like they look at like, you know, like what regulations have they followed, legally are they allowed, you know, what interests do they have, what experience. But at the end of the day, they have to have the same passion as you, right? Because they're driving your personal branding. Like above everything, they might be able to get the job done, they might be able to drive from A to B, but are they representing you in the same way that you would be representing yourself if you were the one driving, right? And I think that's the most important thing. So
Absolutely.
yeah, and
I
I
mean,
think yeah,
at the end of the day, right? I can franchise out to 10 barbershops, right? At the end of the
right,
day, now obviously all business, right? They're not all going to succeed. So out of my
yeah,
10 franchise barbershops down the road that I may open, right? If one closes down, it just means that they're not paying me their fee, right? But they're the ones that paid for everything since the beginning. I'm just teaching them how to make it successful, how to grow it. And obviously, if they're not listening to my advice, then obviously at that point of time, they're not doing something right.
that's right, that's right. And like, bro, like, you know, it's they're carrying on your personal branding at the end of the day. So let's say you lose out on the franchise that failed, you still won on the reach that you got from them, right? Like
Hmm.
organic reach, people walking past, shit like that. Like, bro, imagine, and you know, I'm praying for this, bro, because I want to see you succeed as much as I can, right? But like, imagine, bro, no matter where you are in the world, and I'm talking worldwide, you say, let's go get an Empire fresh cut, right? Let's go get a fresh cut at Empire, right? It's like, doesn't matter where you are, you'd have that branding. So let's say in Africa, right? Like the shop closes down, you still have the reach of Africa, right? People in
Hmm.
Africa know about you, right? So like obviously that's thinking in like long term, but that's how I like to think, right? And that's where I think, you know, that's where I think you're heading, right? Like it's still early, but
Hmm.
I think that's where you're heading.
Absolutely. I mean,
Yeah,
we always got to think about the future, right?
that's right.
And
That's right.
how you see your vision. Like you've got to have a vision for where you see yourself, right?
Mm,
And how big this business could potentially be, right?
right. Right.
Um, it comes down to learning how to manage efficiently and effectively. That's the
Right.
biggest thing, is learning how to manage things efficiently and effectively, right?
Mm,
So
mm,
obviously my goal being, if we have the ability to go all around the world and open Empire Barbershop, right? Like for example, one of the reasons why I picked my logo to be sky blue, right,
right.
is in line with, if you yourself right now can think about anything that's sky blue, right? Think about a business in Australia currently, right? A retail center, whatever it may be. Think about a business that's sky blue. Can you think
Right.
of any?
I
No,
was thinking Facebook.
no, that's
Hmm.
in Australia.
What? Oh,
Like,
in Australia. Fuck.
oh, are you talking like a brick and
Um.
mortar
Just anything, like
or
any
anything?
business in general.
Um. Shit.
I can't.
We're put on the spot, Mark. What are we gonna do?
I
Hey, can
can't
I
think.
Google this? Can I Google it?
You can, but the reason why I've done it sky blue
Yeah.
is because the first thing that people will see and think about when they see sky blue is Empire Barbershop. So I want to take advantage of that color palette and go,
Right.
okay, right, I'm going to open up something that's sky blue, because everything nowadays, right, anything and everything plays a role. Like if you think of black and gold, I can think of a million businesses that look black and gold, that have the white color, the marble white color. I can think of a heap of businesses that have, the orange color and stuff like that. But when you think about baby blue, you think about, okay, shit, there's honestly not much really that you can think of other than Facebook, other than maybe Zero, the payment system, right? There's not really
Right.
anything that's sky blue that you can think of. So the first thing that pops into people's minds when they think sky blue is Empire.
Yeah, can I add
I'll,
on to that? You're
Hmm.
talking about like the color and the color palette and shit, and we tell a lot of people about like how important color psychology is when starting a business, and a lot of
Hmm.
people like they move on too quick from that. They just like, oh, we just want to get through it. We just want to choose a color. We don't care about the rest. Like we can always change it, but not like you gotta set a color palette in place so that it like you're saying, like people keep thinking about it, and it's like color psychology is like important in business. Like when we
yeah.
started Zorus Media, like I was like studying this shit for like months, trying to pick out the right colors. So I don't know if you've seen our Instagram, but I had to like go through a lot of different like templates, different colors
We revamped a lot.
to like
Yeah.
see what people resonate with. And then when I finally found it, I was like so relieved. And honestly, like
Hmm.
it takes time. And like you
Yeah.
said, like you want to be one, like you want to be like unique. to stand out,
Mhm.
and that's why you're going with that
Yeah.
color.
I think you messed up though, Damon. I was gonna congratulate you on getting the intellectual property of Sky Blue, but some business owner right now is like, oh shit, he's right. There's not that many. Let me just list my but
I got to
bro.
jump on the ball as soon as possible. I think Sky Blue was a ridiculous amount of money at this point in time that obviously I
Yeah.
can't afford. But
Yeah.
I think Cadbury have purple and everything like
Yeah.
that. Like I can't think of a business with a color purple, right, other than Cadbury.
Yeah.
So
Right.
color's important, and you can that comes down into the very beginning of when you start a business. That's the business plan, right? That's part of the business plan, because your business may pop off down the road, but to rebrand is just a mission to rebrand, and you don't want to rebrand because it's 30, 50, 100 times harder to rebrand than earlier stages where you may as well just do it in the first place.
100%. And
Uh,
bro, all I'm gonna say is every time I'm gonna look up into the sky, I'm thinking of Empire Barbershop. That's all I'm saying, bro.
I just had a question for you, bro. So when it comes to like the path of entrepreneurship and stuff, and how you put a lot of sacrifice, say you went on to start something and it didn't work out, right? And
Mm-hmm.
in your mind you failed, and there's no way out of it. What advice do you have for someone that's thinking that way?
Well, at the end of the day, it comes down to this.
Mm.
It comes down to the takeaways that you come out of that with, right? What did you educate yourself with, the processes, how hard was it, and what are the hardest parts of opening up a business, right?
Mm-hmm.
You really have to think about that and go, okay, if I was to open up another business, this is what I failed on last time, and so I can't afford to fail on this time. Everything that you do is a learning experience. Whether you fail, whether you succeed, you learn from it at the end of the day.
Yeah,
Right.
because
Yeah.
I've been through. I've started some things, some side hustles, didn't work out, lost some money in it. But then, like for a bit, I had given up. But then, like you said, I started realizing like I need to start jotting down points of what went wrong, and then I need to work on that to make the next thing better. And that's like
That's
really
it.
important.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
100%. What did you take away from it,
Yeah.
right? And use that for the next time.
100%.
Yeah, and I love what you said, Damo, because bro, talking in general with people, relationships, and not only like love relationships, I'm talking business relationships and everything. Bro, everyone in your life is as a blessing or a lesson, or they started off as a blessing and they ended as a lesson, right? Like it's at the end of the day, and bro, I say it so much, but it's all about perspective, right? It's how you look at it, right? Like yes, someone left your life, yes, someone left the business, but what did they provide before they left? What did they teach you about your hiring process, right? And I think on that point, right, like making that sacrifice of being very angry and passing through that mindset of failure, right? Like passing through that mindset of failure and choosing it to be something to say, you know what? Like everyone who's succeeded in life failed at one point, right? So
Mm-hmm.
if you go through that stage and you see it like that the whole time, right, then you can never fail because we're always taught that failure is the complete opposite to success. But really, the way I see it is success is a part of failure. You know what failure is to me? Giving up or comfortability. Those are the things that are failing to me. But
Mm-hmm.
if you tried something and you failed, that's still a part of your journey. You know what I mean? And that's the way I see it.
For me, it's like, let's say, for example, let's put an anecdote in place, right? Let's say that you're climbing Mount Everest, right? At the end of the day, right, when you think about failures are what reach you to the top of Mount Everest. You've got to go through the wind. You've got to go through, hypothermia. You've got to go through the pain, and you've got to go through, all that type of failure in order to reach the top. Without any of those, and it gives you even less satisfaction of the success down the road.
100%, yeah.
Yeah.
And like no struggle, no success. Like what is success if you never struggled, right? Now, now we'll have to start wrapping up. We're hitting that 1 hour mark. But just to get onto this point, which I think is so important, do you think everyone has that drive that you have in you, right? Like I can really appreciate and respect that the way you talk about things is the way you execute on them, right? And you know, for some people that may be hard. Like I feel like I speak about it a lot, but I haven't shown my ability to execute yet, right? So you've of course shown your ability to execute. You're still showing your ability, and I believe you're going to continue, right? So do you think everyone has it in them to make those sacrifices and achieve what they want, or do you think that's something in something you're born with, or like a core value that only entrepreneurs could have, right? And I'm just saying this in other people's language because I completely believe the opposite. But yeah, so how do you see it?
At the end of the day, there are ways in which you can teach yourself to be more driven and more motivated, right? People may be working whatever it may be, a supermarket job, working at Macca's, whatever it may be. But when they listen to Gary Vee, all of a sudden their drive goes through the roof, or they listen to Grant Cardone and that drive goes through the roof at the end of the day, right? It's all learned. Like to this day, I listen to some audio books. Like a really good one for me was the one with the Navy SEAL.
David Goggins, Can't Hurt Me.
That's the one, correct.
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
That book is amazing because what it taught me in terms of that book was your mind is everything. If you can have the ability to master your mind, you can master the world, right?
Right.
It's all learning to get, and this doesn't just come naturally for me, right? I've surrounded myself with the right people. I've made sure that I'm reading the right content and the right information, right? Even if it's bad or whether it's good, I'm still learning from it at the end of the day, right? So it's all a learning step, and you have to be willing to learn and experience stuff, whether good, whether bad. You have to be willing to learn, and literally the drive will come naturally as you learn.
100%. And Mark, do you have any further questions for Damo?
I'd love to keep going, but I know you got your own thing happening, bro. And
Damo's probably on 2 hours sleep right now, man. You killed him.
I've got another meeting straight after this, so I've got to hop
See what I
into
mean,
another
bro?
meeting, and then I've got a meeting at 8 o'clock in the morning tomorrow. So it's all back to back for me, but I wouldn't have it any other way.
I appreciate you
100%.
being here, bro.
We appreciate your time. And so just quickly, someone mentioned in the comments, KFC tried marketing their brand for 30 years and succeeded at the age of 65. That should be enough for you, because I'm telling you what, I'm about to go get a KFC feast after this, if you want to know how good their branding is. So I'm about to go get a Twister box or a Zinger box. But yeah, nah, it's been real. It's been so much value within here that, like, bro, I almost forgot that we were doing a podcast, because I felt like, bro, I was getting more value out of you than out of any podcast we've ever done. So I just want to say thank you so much, man. Please keep
Anytime.
continuing your dream, bro. Like, you're a passion, you're a drive for me and Mark as well, because we've been following it for a while now. And everyone watching, I hope they all go take a look at Damo.Lai on Instagram, Empire Barbershop set up in Oakley. Man, they got the freshest fades, and bro, you can't lie. Just go down their Instagram page, you can see what fades they got and everything. And do you have any final comments for the viewers, for everyone that supports Empire Barbershop, and for upcoming entrepreneurs?
Just don't give up, regardless of how hard it gets you, regardless of how much negativity is in around you. Learn to just not give up and continue. And when you do make it, just don't stop. Don't stop. If it's your passion, do not stop. Right, keep going until your last breath, because you know that you're going to die happy.
100%.
Thank you so much, Damo. And bro, we're not done with you. We're still gonna come and do a vlog and go suss out your fades, bro. Because as you can see, I'm needing it right now. So
Same.
after
Same with these
lockdown, bro.
lockdown.
I don't want to take this out because it's better than it. Bro, if would love to have you on another episode, maybe in the future. We'll see how things go. Honestly, you've given a lot of value, and yeah, bro.
Absolutely.
100%.
Yeah.
And just before we go, guys, I want to end this episode a bit special, alright? I want everyone to say one word, which is you think the most important ability as an entrepreneur, alright? We'll go Mark, then the other Mark, and then you, Damo, alright? And then we'll just end it off that. Thank you so much, everyone. Tune in every night. We do this podcast often. Go check out Damo.Lai on Instagram, Empire Barbershop. Go get your fresh fades in Oakley when Daniel Andrews, Daddy Dan lets us out. But yeah, so I'll start. Execution. Mark?
For me,
Yeah. Most important.
discipline.
Damo?
Learning.
Alright. Peace out, guys. It's been real.